A bright sunny day is always a pleasure in the cold winters. On a similar day, Sahil was very excited while going to school. On his way to school, his friends also joined him.
Sahil, you look quite excited today.
Yes, Sabina. Today it's going to be a lot of fun in school. What's so special about today?
Sahil, are you excited about today's activity?
Yes, exactly. Don't you remember? Rohit Bhaiya had said that he is going to take today's class in the garden.
As soon as the first bell of the day rang, Rohit Bhaiya came into the classroom and he asked all the children to walk towards the garden in a queue.
Rohit Bhaiya, what are we going to do today?
You have asked question at the right time, Sahil. First of all, let's all sit in a circle. We are here to make different types of art paintings and crafts for the upcoming art exhibition. This time, the theme is nature. For the exhibition, can we pick some items from the garden as well?
Yes, Rohit Bhaiya, there are many dried leaves here. And pebbles too. We can make something beautiful out of it.
So let's first collect these things.
They all started collecting dried leaves and small pebbles from there. Rohit Bhaiya brought a big tub and kept it in the garden. All the children started putting the chosen items in the tub.
Rohit Bhaiya, dried leaves, pebbles and soil have been mixed in this tub.
Yes, now we may have trouble making arts object from. We should separate all these substances.
I liked Aman's suggestion. We can separate all these substances. Children, can anyone tell me how we will separate this mixture?
It will be done easily. We can pick up leaves and keep them in one place and pebbles at the other place. Only the soil will be left in the tub.
Sabina is absolutely right. Can we find some other examples around us where we can separate substances in a similar way?
When my father cooks rice, he first cleans the rice grains, then he removes small pebbles by hand and then separate other impurities by washing them with water.
Oh wow! You all gave very good examples. All these are examples of separation of substances. There are various processes of separation of substances, the easiest of which is the process of hand picking. It means separating substances using hands. But can you imagine that if the material was not vegetables or grains of rice, instead some other small-sized substances, then how would we separate them?
Yes, I know. When Dad makes tea, he filters the tea leaves out of it and separates it.
So what do you think? Is this also a method of separating substances?
Yes, Rohit Bhaiya, in this method too, two types of substances are being separated. The only difference is that one of the substance is liquid and the other one is solid.
Sabina is right. In this way, when the substances are separated from a mixture using a sieve, the process is called sieving. Can anyone tell me where else this type of process is seen?
Yes, we separate the impurities from the flour by sieving before making the chapati.
I have also seen a large sieve at the construction site. It helps separate the pebbles from the sand.
Very good. Separation of substances is done by many such processes.
What are the other processes?
Threshing and sedimentation are also used to separate substances.
Rohit Bhaiya pulled out some pebbles from the tub in his fist. Along with the pebbles, some sand also came into his hand. He opened his fist, he blew on his hand, and all the sand flew away, and the pebbles remained in his hand.
Oh wow! This also happens even when wheat grains are cleaned in the house. All the lighter particles fly away.
And this process is called winnowing. When two components are separated with the help of wind, that process is called winnowing. Can anyone explain what happens in this process?
Rohit Bhaiya, with the help of air, light substances are removed and heavy substances remain there.
Aman is right. This process is mostly used to remove impurities from the crops.
And what is the process of threshing?
You must have seen the wheat or rice fields. The grains of wheat or rice which are planted are dried in the sun and tied in a bundle and then beaten up. During this time, the grains are separated from the plant. This process is sometimes done with the help of bulls or machines. This process is called threshing.
Jack filled a beaker with muddy water and left it undisturbed for some time. After some time, he was surprised to see the beaker. Let us also look to find the reason for his surprise. The beaker had clear water. Mud being heavy had settled down at the bottom of the beaker while the water formed the upper layer. This process of deposition of mud at the bottom of beaker is called sedimentation, and the layer of mud is called the sediment. Jack separated the upper layer of water from the mixture by gently pouring the clear water into another beaker without disturbing the sediment. This process of separation of a liquid from the sediment is called decantation. Similarly, there are other separation methods too. Let us discover them in this module. Children, after preparing tea, this tea stall owner pours the mixture into the tea strainer. The tea passes through the holes of tea strainer, leaving behind the tea leaves in it. This process of separation is known as filtration. Filtration, however, cannot remove the solid substances dissolved in a liquid. Sometimes fine particles of the solid component pass through the strainer that is used as the medium for filtration. In such a situation, filter paper is used. A filter paper is a special paper which has millions of tiny holes in it. While the liquid can pass through these holes, the solid particles remain on the filter paper. The liquid which passes through the filter paper is called the filtrate. The solid particles that are left behind the filter paper are called the residue. Let us do a workout. If you are given a mixture containing water, sand and salt, how will you separate the three components from one another? You will leave the mixture undisturbed for a while to separate sand. Sand, which is heavy and insoluble in water, settles down at the bottom of container. The mixture is then separated by decantation to get sand. Now, as salt being soluble, is completely dissolved in water. This is done through evaporation and condensation. Let us look what we mean by these two terms. When we have a mixture of salt in water to separate, we take the solution in a kettle and cover it with a lid. Now gently heat the kettle for some time. Heating transforms water into vapor that escapes from the spout of kettle. Continue heating till all the water gets converted into vapor and only salt is left behind in the kettle. Thus, salt dissolved in water can be separated from the water through this process. This process of conversion of water into vapor by heating is called evaporation. In order to obtain the water while heating the salt water, hold a plate containing ice just above the spout of the kettle. When the steam escaping through the spout comes in contact with the plate containing ice, it condenses and forms water. This process gives us back the water. This process of conversion of water vapor into water is called condensation. Water is a universal solvent. It dissolves many things. But there are certain items that do not dissolve in water. Take a beaker and dissolve some amount of salt in it. Go on adding salt to the solution. As long as the salt is dissolved in water, the solution is an unsaturated solution. But a stage will soon come when you will not be able to dissolve more salt in the solution. At this stage, the solution becomes saturated. Thus, a solution is said to be saturated if it cannot dissolve any more quantity of the given substance in it. Add a small quantity of salt to a saturated solution and heat it. What happens to the undissolved salt at the bottom of the beaker? Yes, it starts dissolving in the solution. Let this hot solution cool. Does the salt reappear to settle at the bottom of the beaker again? Yes, it does. Students, this activity shows that you can dissolve a large quantity of salt in water by heating.